said, I've been with Google for about 9 years. I've been with Motorola Mobility for all of 90 days. And I have to say, I've never been more excited about what's ahead of us and about what we're going to do for consumers. We are here today to introduce to you a couple of incredible new devices. But we're also here to tell you that the new Motorola starts today. This is the first time that we've had a chance to talk about where we're going. So I'm going to spend some time talking about the direction that we're going to take the company and what the big bets are that we're making. I think first it's important to understand the remarkable history of Motorola Mobility. Now, there's a lot of debate out there in our industry about who invented what and when. Now, there's one thing that's not debatable. Motorola invented the technology that underpins the mobile industry. It's just not debatable. In 1969, the first words that Neil Armstrong spoke from the moon were transmitted using a Motorola S-band transceiver. In 1973, the first mobile phone call ever made was made over a Motorola Dynatac here in New York City. And a Motorola engineer named Marty Cooper made that call. And I'm privileged to have gotten to know Marty, who's here today. Marty, do you mind standing up? Marty literally was the man who led the team that invented the cell phone, invented the mobile industry. Which is incredible. Now, Marty tells me that the Dynatac, which he has here, and he actually has one with him, weighed 2.5 pounds, had no display. You got a total of 20 minutes of talk time, and it took you 10.5 hours to charge it. How's that for specs? So you could talk, but you couldn't talk very long. And you could listen and you could call, and that's pretty much it. But Motorola continued to drive innovation with the StarTAC, and everybody's familiar with the original Razr, which at the time was the thinnest phone you could buy. 130 million units shipped globally. My point is that Motorola has always been a deeply technical engineering leader, and that's true today. That legacy of innovation and innovation continues. Now at Google, we have some pretty technical leaders like this guy here, Sergey Brin, and recently Sergey had this idea, crazy idea as Sergey does, of live streaming a parachute jump from a blimp to Moscone Center, where an audience of thousands were waiting for a demo of Google Glass. So Sergey asked me, I need a little bit of help. Can the Motorola engineers help me get a wireless data connection? Actually, they were doing this over LTE. Can they make sure that we can get a phone that's going to be able to transmit all the way down? And one evening, the engineers at Motorola came up with a solution that showed the world what it was like to skydive live. So fundamentally, Motorola is a company of people who solve deeply technical problems to create breakthrough consumer experiences. And that's a big reason that Google and Motorola are together today. So let me tell you about 3 big bets that we're making. The first bet is on speed and 4G LTE. For consumers, we believe at Google and at Motorola that faster is fundamentally better. Do you remember what it felt like the first time that you downloaded a video on your phone? It was a pretty magical experience. I could watch video on my phone. It changed everything. And that's what it feels like to go from 3G to true 4G LTE. These are incredibly personal devices, as Eric was saying. And when you can improve the speed that radically, it just makes the entire experience magical. People don't want to wait for a video stream to catch up. They don't want to wait for a web page or to load a search. In fact, at Google, we've learned that milliseconds matter when it comes to search behavior. Shaving a few tenths of a second off the time that it takes to do a web search has a measurable impact on searcher happiness. We actually measure searcher happiness at Google. So people like speed and they love 4G LTE. 4G is rolling out around the world. It's gaining momentum. There are some 15 million subscribers to 4G LTE in North America, and 1/3 of them use Motorola devices. 1/3. So that makes Motorola the leading device maker for 4G in the US today. Now Motorola has that lead because it saw 4G coming a long time ago. This chart highlights just a handful of the 300 technical contributions that Motorola engineers have made to the 4G LTE standard over the past decade. So we understand 4G better than anyone else. And when you give people 4G, they take advantage of it. They use data-intensive of applications like Google Maps and Facebook and YouTube and Skype, apps that they used to use over Wi-Fi or over PC. And our own data shows us that people on a 4G LTE device use more than 10 times the data of an average 3G smartphone user. They're checking their phone almost twice as often. And that's because the devices that run on 4G LTE simply are more useful to the consumer. They become a bigger part of people's lives. Now the problem is, when people use their smartphone more often, and they're using their apps that require more power, it takes a toll on battery life. Which brings us to the second big bet for Motorola, which is around power management. Most 4G smartphones simply can't make it through the day on a single charge. We've seen our competitors' devices last only 10 hours with average use. More than 70% of 4G users have to charge their phone more than once during the day. And I'm sure many of you walk through airports at 5 o'clock in the evening, and you see everybody running for an outlet. Right? We just think that's a horrible consumer experience, and it's a problem we want to solve. A mobile phone that's plugged into the wall is simply not a mobile device. Now, some people say that's not a big problem. You can just buy an extra battery pack, right? And that's true, but why would you really want to do that? Here you have an iPhone 4S and a Razr Max, both quite thin devices. Now, to get the kind of battery life that the Razr Max has, you would need to buy a battery pack accessory called a Morphe. Let me show you what a Morphe looks like. Or Mophie, sorry. That's what a Mophie looks like, right? That's not particularly attractive, right? You just can't have great function without great form. And Motorola knows how to get the most power out of thin, beautifully designed devices. So we're going to continue to extend our lead in 4G power management. Because power is critical, giving you all the incredible experiences of the web, many of which are powered by Google, which brings us to the third bet, which is Android. As Eric said, in 2009, Motorola, with Verizon, was the only major OEM to go all in on Android, and we're fully committed to this day. Eric talked about the incredible momentum behind the platform. He talked about the 1.3 million devices activated every single day. They're huge numbers. And the openness of the platform is really what accelerates the incredible amount of innovation. Just to name a few firsts that happened on Android: multitasking, voice activation and search, notifications, turn-by-turn navigation, all were first on Android. So we're going to bring the best Android innovations to our devices as fast as we can. And as an example, all the devices that we'll talk about today come preloaded with the Chrome browser, which is the fastest browser in the world, and it's the fastest growing browser in the world. These are the first devices in the world to ship with Chrome pre-installed. And of course, you also have YouTube and Google Maps pre-installed, which some products will not. So we want our users to know that if you want the best Android device possible, you should be looking at a Motorola device. So the new Motorola starts today. Finally, now that Motorola is part of Google, we want to renew our commitment to Motorola's customers. First, developer editions. We know that power users and developers want to be able to modify their devices. They're the tinkerers and the hackers, and they want an option of an open platform. And that's why we're announcing developer editions that will enable modification of the Android code for the devices that you'll see today. The second is Jelly Bean, which we know all of our users want. Jelly Bean creates an incredible experience for consumers. All the devices that we launch today will be available with Jelly Bean by the end of the year. And the third is upgrades. We know that keeping current on the latest Android operating system is important to all of our users. We will upgrade most of our devices that were launched since 2011 to Jelly Bean very soon. But there are a small number of devices that can't be upgraded without degrading the phone performance. So for those owners, we'll offer a $100 credit with the purchase of any device that we unveil today. So with these three new programs, the new Motorola Mobility starts today. We're proud of where we've come from. We know there's a lot of work ahead of us, but we couldn't be more excited about where we're going and about the opportunity to create the next generation of incredible experiences for consumers. Because in many ways, Google and Motorola have only just begun.